everybody. I'm Erica Thompson. I am Vested's head of agency marketing, and we're here with Mike Marinello. Mike, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your organization.
Yeah, hi. So Mike Marinello. Right now I'm a strategic consultant working for AON, which is one of the largest risk management companies in the world in the professional services industry. Prior to that, I was working on Mike Bloomberg's presidential campaign.
So for everybody that is watching, Mike has two props, a thumbs up and a thumbs down. And we're just going to kick off our conversation. Beautiful. We're going to kick off our conversation with some fun kind of icebreaker questions about how you've spent your quarantine and what your thoughts are going forward. Overall feelings on working from home.
It's a mixed blessing for me, but at the end of the day, I'm more enjoying working from home simply because I get more time with my boys. So that's why it's so I would say mostly then thumbs up.
Working from home in pajamas.
All the time.
Likelihood that you will return to the office in 2021.
So I actually have signed up to be part of a beta test group to go back to the AON office, which is at One Liberty Plaza in the city. But yeah, I'm going to be one of the first people in our company to go back into the office. I volunteered.
Feelings on outdoor dining through the winter.
The right place, the right space. Those heat lamps are really good. So, I mean, I did it the other day and it was in the 40s, low 40s, and it was fine.
Did you watch Tiger King in quarantine? No, you missed out on all the memes. Did you get on the banana bread baking bandwagon in quarantine? Yes.
One day, it was like early March, or maybe late March, sorry. And there was our family drinks a lot of coconut milk, and on the side of the coconut milk container, there was this banana bread recipe. And I was like, huh. And I looked over and we had like 5 bananas going brown. I was like, I can make banana bread. And so I started doing it. And like, everyone loved it, but then it was like every week. And my kids are like, Dad, not another banana bread.
Not another banana bread byproduct. There's muffins, there's bread.
Right. So I took my foot off the pedal a bit, but yes, I was completely into the banana bread thing.
Is Zoom fatigue real?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, and at AON we use WebEx, but it's the same thing.
Has quarantine driven you to join TikTok?
I haven't joined it, but I watch it. So I don't know that, so I haven't set up an account, but I go on all the time. And I try to stop, but I can't.
And then have you learned a TikTok dance in quarantine?
No, absolutely not.
So this is changing gears a little bit. If you could tell me a little bit just about how you and your team have been doing through the pandemic, and you can answer that through the lens of, camaraderie and just general team morale or work-life balance, however you want to take it.
It's really interesting because, AON had spent a lot of money several years ago to be much more digital and mobile workforce. And so they were already anticipating sort of the work of the future, and that people would want to be wherever they wanted to be and still do their job. So culturally at AON, while, it went from 0 to 100%, in like a week, it was not culturally strange. So because people were doing it, and WebEx, they were a WebEx culture already, because the chief marketing officer lives in Austin and there's no office in Austin. And the CEO is sort of in Chicago, London, and New York, and his chief of staff lives in San Francisco. And that was already before this all happened. So I think we had the advantage of being already in this sort of more mobile digital culture. I think everyone checks in. I think the teams have handled it well. But things like I mentioned, like we're doing things like no video Friday, or someone will say, can we just do a call? And I think just being, listening, communicating, checking in, and being understanding of people's time, and that they're feeling what you're feeling, is really pervasive in the culture, and I think has made a huge difference for how we're handling it.
What would you say has been sort of maybe the most surprising or compelling part about how COVID has changed your marketing and comms strategy?
That's a great question. I think it's accelerated. I think, like with everything else, I think it's accelerated the evolution of things in a way that might have taken years, right? So the concept of maybe, it's okay to do, video interviews. You don't have to be in person. I think I think media partnerships and the digitalization of engagement, like events are it's hard in my mind to, want to invest in a huge partnership for an event when you can't be there physically. Because to me, the physicality of being at a CES or at a code or at, a place where you're engaging with people, not just engaging with the content, is the value prop. And so rethinking that and how you use your partnership dollars and your partnership efforts, not stopping them, but it's rethinking what you're doing partnerships for and around and what the value is that you get out of it has been massive. So I think that's been the biggest shift for me. And I also think it's shown. I think the other thing is that media relations and relationships are going to become more important again because we haven't had the time to build them, so you've had to really harness the ones you've had and then hopefully grow them. So I think it's bringing back some of the things that might have been going by the wayside. So I think, like, I know for sure when we're back to normal times, like, I'm going to spend a lot more time with, actually physically engaging, like drinks, coffees, bringing people into the office with reporters, because I think that you realize how much you miss in not being able to build those relationships and connect with individuals. I came from Mike's campaign where we were meeting with like 30 and 40 reporters a day, right, in person, right, not on Zoom, right, a day in person, to having all of a sudden not. And so it was a shock to the system.
So, Mike, can you tell me a little bit about what AON has done throughout COVID, maybe to help their current clients?
Well, it's a great question. AON is a very client-facing company, and a lot of its success is based on its great relationships with its clients. So there's a history of that. But at the onset of COVID, a group of us got together and thought, the psychology right now at that point was everyone was sitting back because they didn't know what to do. And we thought, we're a risk company, and we have clients in all of these different sectors. And if we want to start thinking about, even though in these early stages, how do we move forward? What should we do? So we came up with the concept for these work, travel, and convene coalitions. So the WTC, it's work, travel, and convene. And the concept was, when the economy starts moving back, there's going to be three major ways we're going to have to look at the world: how we work, how we travel, and how we convene or congregate. And so we set up these coalitions with our clients in our key city hubs to come together and talk to each other about, what they were planning to do, what they had to do. And so you're talking about, companies from everywhere, from McDonald's to Accenture to Citi to, meeting in different cities. So we did them in Chicago. They're still inactive. They're still active. We did Chicago. We're doing New York, London, Sydney, Singapore, and several others. And what we found is that, and we actually just recently released a report. It's on AON.com under Work, Travel, and Convene. But what we found is that what we were talking about earlier is that, companies were just trying because there was no playbook. But there was a lot of interesting research that we gathered as a result. But more importantly, what we realized is that companies were really just looking for other companies to talk to find out, how are you doing this? Like, as we speak today, our entire Chicago coalition is meeting with our New York coalition, and they're talking about vaccines and how should we handle it as employers. And so we've actually set up, and it's very much in the mindset of, when I worked for Mike Bloomberg, I helped him launch C40 cities. And so we set these coalitions up with that idea of, like, key cities, key companies, and how can we share and make best practices and start benchmarking it. And so what we found along the way is that, a lot of companies have been able to learn from each other. And as I was talking about before, a lot of them are realizing that they need a better system in place to prepare for risk. They need a better they need to have it higher up in the organization. You know, there's also this concept of we're all going through pandemic right now, but what might be a big risk for, say, McDonald's down the road it is not the same risk that might be for S&P Global. And so how do you prepare for that? So it's been over 130 clients in 15 different industries across 10 different cities. So it's been quite and our first report was just released, and we're going to do several more as we continue to navigate through it. And it's an exciting time because of the vaccine and because of all these new technologies. So the other point is that what we learned in the last 4 months or 6 months, I'm sorry, is related to those 6 months, and they can be navigational, but the next 6 months are going to be much different because of how the situation is evolving. But we found that our clients have been massively appreciative, and they want these to continue, and so it's almost like it's a network. And I would say networking, but it's a peer-to-peer concept that's working, and it's working globally. So right, so it's not and the folks in Chicago want to talk to the folks in London because they want to see what's like and what's different. And so it's been a great experience.
Thanks so much, Mike. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Take care.